Long ago, the people of Elarant lived in peace and harmony, far beyond the northern mountains. They had settled and built the splendorous city of Ilvania, with white marble buildings and golden farms spread far to the end of the eastern shores, and through the wealth of Ilvania, the world thrived. But not long before the turn of the century, the world of Elarant was changed forever when the fissure tore Ilvania asunder. The peoples were forced to move south, and slowly a new world was formed, as the old world was forgotten. As they moved, they built new towns. Drakenil in the north, Westcross in the plains, then Summerhost was built in the far south. Eventually, on the shores of the Eastrix Basin, a new capital was built, the Citadel, the centre of this new world. The once splendourous palace which was built between the mountains became known as the Great Wall of Aramba, and only those who stayed upon it knew of the dangers which lurked within the ruins of Ilvania. Their ancestors had stayed back to fight the blighted scourge that poured out from the fissure, and so it became their duty to watch over the wall in case the shadows ever grew again. But now, a little over 3 centuries since that day, some would say that time has come, as a group of travellers come together and slowly find out that they may be Elarant's new heroes.
To say everything has gone wrong is both a lie and an understatement. I left Aramba in search of the Wolfmen, but ever since meeting this band of interesting characters, nothing has been normal since. And came to a header in the capital where I was able to apprehend Elanus, who knew nothing. He escaped overnight, causing tens of innocents to die. The closest lead of the Dynas sent us to Summerhost, where Marcusar's sister ended up having some connection to the Wolfmen and somehow being worse than her brother, which I thought was impossible. The next lead takes me with Ranagash to Meyer, but I have no idea if that'll end up being anything at all. But the further I get from the wall, and after a rather forward coffee break, the more I begin to doubt what I was taught, and if home is even the home I want to go back to.
Alright, Wolfric Reinbrand, member of the Iron Dragons. A bunch of the members got absolutely their shit rocked. So I'm in Tenon, right, and I encountered the weirdest fucking blokes that I have ever met. And then there's a cursed girl, and she can see the future. And shit just gets weirder from there. Went down to Summerhost. We found a weird dungeon. I received multiple blunt force trauma wounds to the head. I'm pretty I don't know, my memory's a bit foggy after that. I'm like cursed at this point.
Well, lots changed for me this past month, besides the physical. I set out from Summerhost to gain some insight in the Citadel, and weirdly, that journey led me back home. I feel like I've learnt a lot of stuff I didn't know. My sister turned out to be someone I completely didn't know, but my quest continues. I feel like I know where to find my answers now, and disregarding my death at the hands of Wolfric, I think it's all been going pretty well, so let's hope that I can find the Dream Store, and hopefully the party will play along.
Journey since leaving Maya has been interesting to say the least. Unfortunately, not many clues, but given the nature of what I'm investigating, that was sort of to be expected. The group I found myself with is rather interesting, although I suppose I belong then, maybe.
It was the plight of a prophetic girl in the walled town of Tenon that caught their interest, and it was the strange infection that plagued the mayor which eventually brought them together. A simple accord. It was safer to travel together than to go alone, especially when they each shared the same destination, the capital, the Citadel. But first their travels took them along the main road, where the accord was quick to fall apart, as Marcusar, the dragonborn from Summerhost, killed a man as the party tried to save him. An accident, though he took the time to justify the murder, and in doing so the party became divided. A group of 3 travelled into Hillview, the veteran Wolfric, the soldier Eidolon, and the half-orc Ranagash. They brought the body into town and brought the news to the boy's mother. Hillview too, it seemed, was plagued by its own troubles, and despite being divided, the party came together in a hesitant alliance to solve the disappearance of a young girl. They found her in the care of a necromancer, and here they once again saw the twisted infection upon the arms of Eidolon. The party killed the necromancer and returned the girl safely, cautiously accepting Marcusar back into the fold as they left the hamlet and continued the Citadel. The road was long enough for the party to get to know one another, long enough for Eidolon to speak to the infection living within him, long enough for the party to learn more about the Dragonborn and the veteran, and long enough for Ranagash to see the soldiers past, and long enough for the two to reach a mutual understanding as they exchanged secrets at the roadside. The road gave them their lead, as not far outside the walls of the Citadel they ran into some of the Iron Dragons of the south, who directed them towards Sorrow, the Master of Arms. Through busy streets they found the old orc by accident. He had information for Wolfric and directed Eidolon towards the Dynast house to find his man. Everything resulted in the party staying in that little bit longer in the citadel, as Eidolon apprehended the man and Wulfric accepted to represent the Master of Arms in the celebration of the Six. It was supposed to be a day of rest, that instead saw Elanas, Eidolon's man, escape from custody and possess a familiar voice as the mysterious wolf man planned to disrupt the tournament. There was nothing Eidolon could do, but there was something Ranagash could do, as the half-orc sent a message to Wulfric, warning him of the infected prize and the danger should anyone else be the one to claim it. The party watched on, with the Master of Magic, Varian Pendragon, and Sorrow, as Wulfric competed, round after round and finally standing as champion. But the cheers of the crowd turned into disapproving whispers as he stood and rejected the Dynast's favour, though, as the rest of the party dropped down onto the sands, that turned out to be a wise decision. The infection had erupted from the trinket and attacked, a mass of pure blight that ravaged the tournament grounds looking for a host. It was the creature's eventual death which secured the favour of the Dynast. She invited the party into her home and asked them to accompany her advisor to Summerhost. They were to act as his bodyguards as he searched for the ruins of the precursors, and hopefully, a way to protect Elarant from this growing infection. The journey to the southern plains took longer than any of them had expected. Passing through Hillview saw the town upturned as a young woman they had rescued rose from the dead and attacked the townsfolk. Again, it would seem this infection that was following them as they prepared themselves for the worst as they moved towards Tenon. They were relieved to find the town untouched, and pleased to know that the young prophetic girl was now truly being cared for. But the party never arrived in Summerhost. Their ward instead took them into the plains near the River S to search for his ruin. He gave them the words and slowly they worked it out, waiting until night for the passage to reveal itself. The ruins took them deep into the earth and into a crumbling temple that had not been touched for decades. After dealing with the temple security, they found a tale of these precursor beings. A man and a woman from another plane of existence, deified by those who once lived within the temple walls. Their wards seemed to be thrilled, especially after finding 2 tombs untouched in the heart of the ruins. Eidolon was less so, with the party's attitudes towards the old man turning as he attempted to sentence them to death against the temple's last guardian. With a sour taste in their mouths, the party left their ward to continue his work in the ruins as they finally entered Summerhost to deliver his own writ. Their welcome was cold, and soon the party were divided once more. They turned their backs on the Dragonborn, having learned about his involvement with an incident that cost a woman and her child their lives. But it would seem their time in Summerhost was also going to be extended, as the Lord could not send men to aid the old man until his own problems were taken care of. A mysterious song had come from the forest of Hilden, and the people were once again going missing, though this time it appeared to be the forest itself that was responsible. The party took the time to prepare, whilst learning more about the hold and its people. Meanwhile, Markasar took to the forest, having left the party entirely to rejoin his commune and check on his flock. He also found himself preparing to venture into the wood to follow the song, though his sister too seemed to be a rising issue plaguing the back of his mind. It would seem fate would not allow them to remain separated for long, as soon the party was brought together in the ancient spring, a lost part of Hilden that was protected by the Coven of Dryads. Eidolon, Wulfric, and Ranagash dealt with the living wood, though Markasar and his brother, the red-headed dwarf Dorholin, soon joined the fray to aid in bringing down the Glade's guardian. It was this beast that caused the troubled thoughts to return to the mind of the Dragonborn, as none of the townsfolk had been brought to the Glade. The song was only sung as a means to lead these people to where they would be safe from the darkness. It was his sister, who arrived as the beast lay slain, that was responsible for the missing people, and for the anger of the Glade. It was also her magic that was responsible for Markasar's own death, as she captured the mind of Wulfric and turned him against his companions. When she was eventually slain, Eidolon burned her body, and the others carried Markasar back to the camp of the Green Hand. It was one of their members who worked to revive the Dragonborn, and as they waited, the party decided to make their next stop the northern mountains, in the forest of Maiar, choosing not to return to the citadel. But when the Dragonborn woke, he was not the same, reincarnated into a high elf, stealing the image of both his father and his sister, though keeping the blue of his scales in his eyes and hair. A change of face perhaps led to a change of heart, as he was welcomed back into the party with caution, and found his own lead in the pages of his family's journals. He also found something which turned the party from their agreed destination, the location of an egg gifted by a stranger and cared for by his sister, sending them further into Hilden as the sun sat high in the sky, sending them into the dark wood, where the infected mists twisted Eidolon's visage and birthed a blighted draconoid from the egg. It was the first time Wulfric had seen a creature like this in months, and it was the start of another lead. Now, with the dragons slain and their promise fulfilled, the party must leave Summerhost behind. Markasar trading his beliefs for the pages of a burnt journal, Wulfric chasing the shadows of a dragon, Ranagash returning home, and Eidolon travelling with the hope that something will finally give him some answers.